Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, how are you, everyone?
Everyone's doing great. I think they've tuned into our second episode, and we're going to talk about how to make fullest about the job opportunities
Yeah,
next.
welcome back.
Yeah,
So in this episode, we are going to talk about the interview process and how to write your resumes.
right. Aren't we in the same boat? Resume building,
Yeah,
and then interview
yeah,
shortlisting, and
of
then
course. I mean, we are all graduate students right
yeah.
now, which is why I think it's really important to have this episode to make it clear to our audience what the job market is like, especially with the
Definitely.
AI intelligence in the in the picture, what we can do to prepare ourselves for a position after
Right.
graduation or even before graduations.
You've hit a nerve right there. The
Yeah.
ATS shortlisting. I think a lot of students graduating now are worried about how to tailor their resume because not employers are looking at their interview resumes now, but the ATS system is. And how do we tailor our resume according to its need is when you look at the job description, you see certain keywords, certain skills that are required for the job, and you include those keywords and those skills in your resume. For example, if you're applying for maybe a project management role, you do not write, yes, you've got the skill, but how do we let the employer and the ATS system let it go through the ATS system? You do not write project coordination instead of project management. You just write it as it is because it's going to detect those keywords and those skills and not its synonyms. So, yeah, that would be my tip to help you get through the ATS system.
Yeah. I think that's you made a good point. So first of all, you wanna your resume to pass the ATS to making sure
Yeah,
this piece of paper are going to the employers. You know, you wanna
right.
making sure is visible, is good to read to both ATS and the human
Yeah.
recruiters. So in that case, we have to talk about how the layout of the resume looks like.
Yeah, that reminds me. Did you not go to the Current Development Center recently? How was your visit?
So yeah. So I went there. My visit was great. You know, they gave me the format which we are going to link down below, so our audience could able to access that. So overall, I think what the message I have received, just to keep it simple,
Yeah,
as college student, it is understandable that we don't have a lot of experience, work experience.
right.
So in that term, I think listening more about your college involvement, your volunteer experience, and
Yeah.
what you have done, the project you have done in the classes are very important.
Yeah.
So first off, we wanted to talk about the format. You want to keep it consistent. The hiding, subheadings, we want to use all the same font. We want to use, new time romance or the same stuff. Keep 12 point. So keep it simple, easy to read.
Right.
You want to put it in sections. Try, each section should be your education background, your job experience,
Right.
your volunteer experience, your college experience, what's the award you have received from the past. So
Okay.
those are something to include on your resume for sure.
Great.
For more information, like I have mentioned, of course, going into going to the link that we have included in there, so you can access more. Also, you can use some, you can research on Google. There's a lot of samples on how to write your resume. One thing I have to
Right.
mention is, since our audience are mainly looking for jobs in the US, resumes are looking very different. In different countries, I heard in like like East Asian or South Asian countries, they like to including a picture, like your headshot on the resume. Over here is a big no-no
Yeah.
because you don't want them to know who you are. You don't want them to look at you. Sometimes I don't even including my address on there. Some people
Oh,
do
okay.
including address, their home address. I normally just including the city I live. That
Yeah, I
way.
think that is why the Career Development Center has given a format so that
Mm-hmm.
students don't, distract themselves with other resumes from their home country.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So those are simple a little bit stuff because resumes are, I mean, I wouldn't say it's easy to prepare, but at least that's like some quiet work you can do
Yeah.
on your free times. You can like, update your resume,
Yeah.
um, just fix a little bit on your free time. But nice, I think we should get into more like a serious part, which
Yeah.
is the interview. Some people, not some people, a lot of people get nervous doing interviews
Yeah.
because
I think one of the
something new.
most common mistakes, other than this, is also how students send out the same resume to all the employers and not keeping in mind what the description and what the job is about. So, my suggestion would be to tailor the resume according to the job description or the role that you're applying for. For example, if I'm applying for a data analyst position, I would tailor my resume according to the position and would include the skills that I know of is going
Mm-hmm.
to be helpful for
Okay.
that role.
Okay.
Similarly, if I'm applying for a different role, I'm going to tailor my resume and use my skills that I already know accordingly, and maybe include the not include the um, skills that are not required in the resume.
Yeah. Yeah. That
Yeah.
sounds good. Yeah.
So Leo, going forward, I know that you've conducted a lot of interviews because you have been an employer before being a student.
Right.
So, what do you think an employer looks for in an employee?
Yeah. So yes, I used to be a operation manager. So that
Mm-hmm.
ways I have conducted a lot of interviews. It's good to see from another perspective.
Mm-hmm.
When I was employer, basically the employee I'm looking for, first of all, it has to be honest. Looking through the resume,
Mm-hmm.
I can know how many years experience you have from
Mm-hmm.
the type of question you're answering, from the conversation we have. So that's very important. Second of all, I want to say if you are prepared for the interview, which means I'm going to ask you some basic questions like tell me about yourself, why are you interested in our companies? So in those questions, which I think every interview like
Yeah.
being conducted would be like any employers would ask you that type of question. It's just a way of me knowing if you are like if you seriously did some research about this company, this position. I understand from like someone who's looking for a job, they may apply a lot of companies, but it's still important to do research. And some of the highlights on my past interviews is someone mentioned like some like of the events or some like news that we have published our company like lately. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, I used to work for Marriott.
Mm-hmm.
During the interview, like oh, I see Marriott is inquiring more hotels. Tell me more about this.
Yeah.
So that is something it's more interesting to me because
Yeah. To
it shows
see. Yeah.
they are interested in me. And then last part I would say prepare for the star interview questions, which means situation. Star
Mm-hmm.
S means situation, T means task,
Mm-hmm.
A means action,
Mm-hmm.
R means result. So I would
Okay.
give you an ended question like in this scenario, let's
Mm-hmm.
say I'm asking about a
Okay.
job conflict situation. So you had a conflict with your past team member.
Yeah.
What action did you take to lead to a
Okay.
good result? So you need to give the situation as
Mm-hmm.
what's the task,
Mm-hmm.
what's the action you took,
Mm-hmm.
and how is that leading to the result.
Oh,
So
great.
this star method is a good method to give you like a full story to the employers. So I would really recommend you to prepare for those type of questions, cause they would ask you like a situational behavioral questions like that.
Wow, wow. This really gives the student an opportunity to think about for example, a lot of graduate students with us have experience. And maybe we would have not wondered being in that situation that we've resolved it, or maybe have been in conflict and maybe, you know, shown one of our skills, like leadership skills. So that gives our audience to think about those experience and be prepared for interviews.
For sure. And I one more thing I would like to mention
Yeah.
is your employers understand you're a student.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's some questions that catch you off the ground,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to show that like you know everything, because
Okay.
it is interview like we mentioned on last episode. Like you might is not processing like
Right.
as much as you could, because that was like like in person face to face interviews.
Yeah.
So if there are any questions that you're not comfortable or you don't know the answer right away, it's okay to take some time, like drink your water. Take time to think about it, or
Yeah.
just be honest. Say, hey, I never had that situation happen to me before. Um, can you ask another question?
Yeah.
It is okay to let them know that you are not perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you are perfect, nobody want to hire you for like an entry level position, or
Yeah.
you're just graduating from college. So being honest is more important for me. Is that a good thing? Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
100%.
yeah. So one last thing I want to mention is asking questions, open-ended question, like
Yeah. At the end of the interview, you think it's good to ask questions?
Oh, definitely. Because that's give you a chance to ask question back to your employers.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff you wanted to know is that obviously relate to the job.
Mm-hmm.
Ask more questions about how's their team looks like. What's the dynamic of their team? What's the position like a day-to-day process would be like? What are you doing for the first 3 months? How
Mm-hmm.
long is the training going to be? After like out of trainings, what else like they are going to ask you to do, like what's task
Sure.
you should be result, what's there to grow, do they how much travel times you get, like do you have to travel for work? It's just like small questions that show you are really interested to the
Mm-hmm.
employers. And then lastly, don't forget to ask, what's the next process of the interview, because you always want to know
Right.
how how long you're going to hear back from them.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about the post interview follow up emails in our first podcast. So please go check it out for you to, show the employer that you're interested and for you to tuned in. So
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you for having us and thank you for being here and listening to our podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Leo.
Yeah, you're welcome. I really hope our audience could learn a lot.
Yes.
And let's not forget our favorite part.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. Namaste.
Namaste.